Alright, fresh ham. We got to debone it, which is what we're doing now. They normally don't, well, they do sell them deboned, but you're better off deboning it yourself if you know how to do it. And I'm also going to take the skin off because normally I wouldn't, but the way it's got to be cooked, the way I'm going to do it anyway, I'll still cook the skin on the side because that's the best part. There's usually a piece of bone in here once you take this knuckle out, but it came out with it looks like. Yeah. Okay. Plus you use the bones for anything, soup, stew, whatever. And this is what you're left with. This is about, let's see. There's an 8-pounder, but once you take the bone out, you're probably left with, I don't know, 7.5, 7. And then we're just going to take the skin off because what we want to do is we want to score the skin. We're going to boil it first and then put it in the oven. And I got pears, leeks, onions, apples, and oranges. But I'm not going to use the orange, I'm going to zest it with the orange. Plus you need some wine, but instead of wine I'm going to use bourbon. But this is actually the best part of it. You can't boil it with the skin on because it'll just protect all the meat underneath and it's not going to come out. But this is we need a very thin and sharp knife to do this proper because you don't want to cut away too much fat because you'll defeat the whole purpose. Because what you want to do is tie it into a roast and then score the fat. Plus the fat on top always makes it more moist and gives it a sweeter flavor, so the more fat you leave, the better you are. Alright, I gotta do this real. This is a meticulous thing, so I'm going to stop it. Okay, here's the skin. It's already done. You got to get close. You can't, like I said, see this is right below the skin. There's a little bit on there. I mean, you still want to leave a little on here, which when you cook it, it'll make it sweet, and it'll make it moist. The skin especially. Because you don't want it. And this is what you're left with. This is how it was with the back of the knuckle here, and this is where it goes down to the hoof, but I'm going to tie it sideways because it's longer, like this. And, you know, tie it this way and this way. Put it up, and then I'm going to, like I said, I put a honey glaze on it. But after I boil it, I'm going to score it this way. And a lot of people put cloves. I don't like cloves. I never like them. That's it. I'm just going to season the inside. And this is a perfect bone for soup. And you do want to leave a little meat on the bone, so when you put it in a soup or a stew, it'll cook that meat and extract all the flavor from it. You don't want a clean bone. You want to leave a little on, like here, see, around the knuckle and around the joint. Over here, I left a little. This is joint. All right. One thing I did want to show you while you're tying, if you're going to tie the roast, fresh ham, always start from the middle and work your way out. Never start from this side and work over. Always in the middle, and the knot is easy, very simple. You're going to line it up like that, right, side by side. This is the short end. It's going to go over, and you're going to form a circle with these two fingers under. I'm just going to pull through. Two knots, same thing. Circle, over, and under, and pull through. Now what you're going to have is a slip knot. Not too tight, because you want, what'll happen is when this heats up, it's going to expand. Then you want to lock that, so what you do is you take your hand, you twirl it, pull on this string, and now lock it down. Same thing again, like this. You're going to create a little circle, and then pull this through, and lock it down. Okay. It's fairly simple. So then you can, go either way. Now I'm only going to tie this until after I boil it. Once I boil it, I'm going to open it up and I'll show you that again. I'll show you side by side. 2 fingers make a circle. Hold. Boom. Come through. Again. Don't let your rope fall on the floor like I just did. Use 2, 3 fingers, whatever fits. Make a little, so it's going to go over and under through the hole. Just like that. And you'll see the roast, or the ham, again, which I'm starting. You'll see it start to take form. And again, straight, and you're just going to make a circle again. With your hands, you're going to pull this string through. Boom. Again, circle. Once you do it 3 or 4 times, it's going to seem like nothing. Anyway. That's it. This is not hard. And you can pick up at your own speed. You'll be able to, tie one of these roasts in no time. And when you're pulling down this, try to form the roast. So this will give you the shape that you're looking for. With the left hand. So the left hand, see how it's sort of tightened up now? It's sort of rounding out. Like I said, not too tight though, because again, you could even make one twirl is enough, but that will hold. And then see this end, it's sort of falling out. What you do is you tuck that in, and you tuck it in when you're tying it, and you hold it in. And then I'm gonna put a string this way. But instead of wasting footage, I'll show you when it's done. Alright, one more thing I just want to show you is, it's almost done. I still gotta tie up this end. But let's say you come to a point where it's not as flat as this, it's sort of rounded, and as you're pulling, the string will fall off this way. Very simple. What you do is you take your knife, score a little, lay the twine right in the groove, and just pull it, and it's not going anywhere. It'll stay like that. Believe me, it's in that groove. It's not going anywhere. So that's all I wanted to show you. Because obviously, especially when you're doing a fresh ham, on a roast beef, if you got an eye round, it's pretty symmetrical. I mean, it tapers down toward the end, but you're not going to get these uneven parts of it. Same thing with a top round. With a top round, I mean, it's just a round. It's really not, it tapers towards the back, but you're not getting these sort of different shapes. So, see, that's in there. So you just cut it down, lay the rope in there. This is pretty much done. I'm going to tighten this end up, which is probably where I'm going to have to slice it a little and lay the cord, but that's about it. Alright, here's the ham. We got it over a fire. We want to submerge it, and then we cut up some carrots, leeks, and onions. You don't have to finely chop it. This is really going to be a broth, so you can use it with this. You can use it with anything. I'm gonna make the glaze and also the chutney, but that's going to be not right now. So what you want to do is put this over sort of a medium fire, like that, and you're going to have to keep skimming it because a lot of the grizzle is going to come to the top, and you're just going to keep skimming this. Now you're going to cook it until it's a pale white. That doesn't mean as soon as it turns pale white you're going to do it. Once you'll see on the top, the fat is going to start to change. The fat is going to start to become more translucent than anything. But you want to keep it in there because you want the middle, the inside, to cook also. Not cook, but you want it. It's not a parboil, but it's what you're doing is you don't want to leave it in. You want to cook it as much in this, so you'll what you're doing in the oven is just baking that honey right into the ham, not too long because you don't want to burn it. This is a variation on Gordon Ramsay. However, he uses different ingredients, and I'm not crazy. He's going to use raisins. I don't like raisins. He uses ground pepper. No, he uses the kernels of pepper. I don't like it because they find a place in your intestines and they never come out. So I use ground black pepper. To me, it's a better choice. But like I said, this is only for the broth, so it's not. You do whatever you want. When it gets to the chutney, no, actually, when it gets to the glaze, he uses a port wine. I use bourbon. Port wine to me is too sweet, and the bourbon has a much better flavor, in my estimation. This is just, the recipe is just a guideline. This is, you put what you want in it. Anyway, all right, I'm gonna have this boil, and we'll see what happens, and then I'll be back. All right, we're gonna make the glaze now. So what we have is, we have sugar. We're working on the sugar. We have some honey, bourbon, because it's sort of made with a sour mash, kind of. But and we have the red vinegar. So basically, you have your sweet, your sour, and your acid. Perfect combination. So we're just waiting for this to melt down. There's our roast. We have no grizzle yet on the top, but it's forming. It takes a while for it because it's a large roast, a lot of water, and I'll show you when we're in the midst of this, the glaze itself. Alright, so we have our sugar going, and it's already melted down, so we're going to Here's the glaze. And you got to keep it, the key with this is keep it moving. Don't let it sit on the fire. And when you can move it, when you're mixing it, move it off the fire and then back on. I find this works a lot better. It really is a good glaze because it has everything. And once it goes on the ham, it's just incredible. The ham is starting to form. See this grizzle on top, so you have to skim it to get that off. And this is the color of the glaze. So now you got that nice bourbon and sweetness with a little bit of vinegar, and then you go back on. So this is back and forth, so you're not reducing it too much, and you're not burning it either. That. And you'll see when it starts to heat up, it'll start to bubble up. It'll actually look like Guinness stout when you pour it in a glass. Just get that. The longer you keep it on, the darker it'll get. I think this is pretty good. Alright, I'll come back with the next step. Alright, we just took it out of the water. That's the broth that's left. We're not using it on this, but you can use it on something else. This is about where you want to get it. It's pretty much cooked on the outside, and it's definitely cooked on the inside. Not too much though. So when you throw it in the oven, it's going to get that nice golden brown. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it cool down, because now once you take it out of the heat, what happens is all the juices are going to go into the meat, back into the meat, where they're not right now. Going to let it cool down to about room temperature, and then I'm going to take these off, and I'm going to score the fat. And this will be, I'm going to just put a load of glaze on, and then that'll be prepped for tomorrow, because tomorrow is when I'm going to bake it. I'm doing all the prep today. But this is what it looks like. Let me get it out. What's that? One thing you want to do when you take it out of here, put it in a pan, because what happens is when you're cooking and all the juices are onto the outside, they actually go to the outside of the meat, and as it cools down, they come back into the center of the meat and make it more moist. The problem is this is an open cavity, so it's not like a steak where there is no openings. This has the cavity in the bottom where I took the bone out, so what will happen is the juices will flow down, and as you can see, will start forming on the bottom, and that's fine. Don't worry about that. But you don't want to lose those juices, because you want that as part when we pour the glaze over it. It'll intermingle with the juices and give it that flavor. So when you pour it, get it like something like this, or whatever pan you got with a little bit of ridge on it. The difference between the way I do it and Gordon Ramsay, he likes to glaze it and then throw it in the oven. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a glaze on it, because this is going to sit, and tomorrow so overnight it's going to just sit in that glaze, and we'll just pour it lightly on top and let it roll down. I'm just going to score the fat, and then we'll do the glaze, and that'll be it till tomorrow. Alright, I just scored it, and a lot of people will clove this, but I don't like cloves. I don't like the flavor, so I'm just going to leave it just like it is. And I just weighed this, and if you don't have a home scale, get one. So this is 4 pounds 14 ounces, and now with pork it's half hour a pound. That's the general rule of it. It varies. So this is 4 pounds 14 ounces, so you're looking at a little bit over 2 hours, and actually, because we parred this, it might be not parred, we actually immersed it, but it might be just about 2 hours. After 2 hours, I would, or just about, I'd put a meat thermometer in, but the meat will tell you when it's done. You can actually see it. But we're just gonna glaze this. What you want to do is just pour it on top, and it'll flow down through the whole hand. It does the work for you if you pour it on top, but not too much. A little bit at a time, because if you put too much, it'll run down quickly. You don't want that. You want it to slowly just pour down. And don't forget, this is going to be sitting in this overnight. So, and if you do it, let's say you want it here, you do it up here. This way it has a chance to fully flow. And that meat, and we're just going to let this sit, get it down to really room temperature fully, and then we're just going to cover it with saran wrap, put it in the refrigerator overnight, and it should really gain some nice flavor there. And as far as this goes, that's about it. Alright, in viewing the last videos that I made, I noticed the volume was all muffled because I had the wrong back piece on. It was for the underwater, so put on a set of headphones and listen closely, but this should be much better. We're gonna make the chutney now. So what we have is some oil. We're gonna throw some onions in there. You know, there's no set measurement. You put in what you think. You know, you can eyeball what I do, but I really don't measure it out. I just, you know, it's to taste with the glaze. And this is almost one full onion.
just about. I like a little cayenne pepper to bring a little heat, because you have so much sweetness, you want to change it up. It'll balance all that sugar out. Now we have these pears. Don't be too crazy on the size, because they're going to cook down once the moisture, the water comes out of them. Alright, I'm going to cook these down and then we'll add some apples, but instead of taking all this time, I'll wait till these are almost done and then I'll turn it back on. Alright, so I added the apples. I also zested 2 oranges and squeezed the juice over. And it's slowly, not slowly, but it's cooking. It's getting real nice. I mean, the onions are already clear and everything is cooking down. I also add a little bit of salt. That's just what I wanted to do. I just wanted to add the salt. And I added a little bit of bourbon because the glaze has the bourbon in it already. And I'm just going to keep cooking this down. And this way it'll be ready for tomorrow. Where tomorrow, all I have to do is just heat the ham up and heat this up. Tomatoes. I'm just going to add that now. It helps if you take the sticker off. My God, I can't believe I missed that. And what I do is with the tomatoes, because these tomatoes lately are watery, I put them in a schoolabas, so you call them a colander. And I cut them and I leave them and I just let the water get out of them for, I don't know, 10-15 minutes. And I'm just going to stir that in there. And the tomatoes give it a nice flavor. Once they cook down, they're going to release some water also. So, all right, we're in the midst of cooking. We're not fully cooked, but I glazed it. I glazed it last night, naturally. Put it in the refrigerator, and I glazed it again. I got it at 350, the oven, and it's starting to brown up real nice. I just want to put another layer of glaze on and put it in for another, maybe, I don't know, 10 minutes or so. It's been in about maybe, I would say almost maybe an hour, hour and a half. No, more like an hour 15, hour and a half. It's probably done. I'll check it with a thermometer. But like I said, what I do want to do is use all that glaze. And I wanted to, you know, I got it into the cavity there so it gets on the inside. But this will all, I want it to get a little more brown and that should be done. It'll be fine. I'm just heating up the glaze so it loosens up. But that's it. Alright. Alright. There's the end product. I cut off a thick slice. Anyway, you see how nice the glaze does? It sort of crystallizes right on top. And it's cooked through real nice. And that's the great part about sort of parboiling it prior, so you don't have to cook it to death, which will make the outside dry. And but it all worked out good. And this is it. This is the, obviously this is the glaze, which sort of turned, you know, the longer you cook it, the browner it becomes. But what you do is you can slice this a little thinner if you have a slicing machine. If you don't, even slices like this, these are fine. Now, This is versatile because you can chop it up for ham and eggs, or you can leave it like a ham steak for ham and eggs, or I mean, you can really do whatever you want. Ham. It's really roast pork, but it's basically a ham. And that's it. And like I said, this all crystallized over here. All the sugars. And it's and this is all I use today, so I can utilize this in any way I want. But it's a great dish, and I can get another, I don't know, 3-4 meals out of this easy. Okay.